The best of the Morning X.
99X.
Let's go now to the real man, the real Patch Adams. I'm sure 9 out of 10 people have already seen the movie. This is the real Patch Adams. Good morning, Patch.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm having the best day of my life.
Excellent.
Best day.
Hey, do people refer to you ever as Dr. Adams, or you don't like formal titles, do you? You're Patch.
Well, what's really funny is that in the last month, more people have called me doctor than in the last 30 years.
Oh, that is funny.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, it's based on respect given from a movie that I'm sure people would be obvious that I didn't want to be called doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
How were you approached as far as doing the movie? Who first approached you?
Well, we've been in the media for 16 years, and any time any kind of major publication would say something, somebody in Hollywood would approach us. But 6 years ago, I wrote a book and got a great review on NPR, and then my mug got on the cover of USA Today, and then the producers called, and this time it led to a movie.
When you did the deal with the movie and finally, you met Robin Williams, I'm assuming?
Well, that sure would make sense.
That
yes.
would make sense. Well, sometimes people are so, freaked out they don't want to do that. They just say, no, go ahead and do it. But how long did you spend with Robin Williams?
Oh, I don't have a time.
He follow you around?
He came and saw me do a lot of clowning, and I went and lived with him for some while, and then I spent a lot of time on the set. I mean, he's a very quick learner.
So you were around a bunch.
I certainly felt like a bunch.
Do you think he did a good job portraying you?
Well, I'm a person much more interested in ideas than in people.
Okay, then let me...
I think that when Universal bought it, I told them that I wasn't important and my biography wasn't important. What was important were the ideas. And I said that if you have to make a movie about me, please make it about compassion, generosity, and funny. And I think he did a wonderful job of that. The actual biography is so much less important, and I would say it's an understatement.
Do your patients, when you first meet with a patient, or do most of your patients know about your past being institutionalized and all that? Does that ever bother any of your patients?
No, I think it's often put them at ease and comforted them.
Made it seem like you're more of a real person?
We're here to debunk the idea that doctors are perfect or above anybody or in any way fully normal, for that matter, that we are all human.
Mm-hmm.
Did the movie company, Patch, add anything in that movie that didn't really happen, or were all those scenes really taken from your life?
Well, I gave hundreds upon hundreds of stories to the writer, and they threw them into a salad and came out with the movie. As I said earlier, it's an understatement. Each of the scenes was more extravagant than you saw, and what was in one scene may have actually been in another scene, but they put them together. I mean, the thing I'd like to correct the most is that my closest classmate in medical school was murdered by one of our patients, and he was trained to do the medicine that killed him by me. It just happened that it was a male and that it was 6 years after graduation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So they took
But
to make this.
they needed, I suppose, a love interest in the movie, and Louis would have been real glad to have a pretty woman play him.
Yeah. So there wasn't really a love interest in your real life at that point that you were working with. I mean, you may have had a girlfriend, but it wasn't as it was necessarily portrayed.
I was not an early successful dater.
You and Jimmy have something in
There
common.
we go. You and I should hang out there, Patch.
Hey, I had a lot of time to explore and study other things.
We are talking to Patch Adams.
Hey, Patch, one of the things, because the movie has, while it has, the people have really grasped onto it, and people, it's been in the top 5 movies for weeks now, but critically, it's, some people have liked it, some people haven't, and one of the criticisms about the movie has been that there seems to be a thread running through it that implies that all conventional medicine is bad and all doctors are evil. And I'm wondering if you got that impression as well.
Well, I think, first of all, that critics are critics because they can't do anything else. Mm-hmm. And that critics historically are cynical. They call the movie an overstatement of compassion, when in fact anyone who lives a compassionate life recognizes the movie as an understatement of compassion. They call it schmaltzy to be nice.
Right.
And in a world where there's so much horror, so much loneliness, so much violence, so much discomfort, so many prescriptions for Prozac and Xanax, it seems irresponsible that a critic would, every time they are faced with a movie with a positive message, that they call it schmaltzy. And the fact is, if you just punched into any kind of service that said, show me all the articles about medicine in the last 15 years, they all would be more extravagantly negative about the modern healthcare delivery system. I think the movie is more of a criticism of a system. I criticize medicine as a business. I criticize arrogance in medicine. And I think that if my letters are any indication, and the importance that medical students place in our work, and doctors and nurses all over the world, there is an outcry that how can medicine be compassionate and meaningful in the greedy, vulgarly greedy current context that it's in. There are great doctors in the worst of HMOs.
And
Patch, the house that you had, or that they portray in the movie, the cabin, does it still exist today?
Well,
out in the countryside?
The fact is, there's no way we could have done that in medical school. They took what we did after medical school and telescoped it into happening in medical school.
You know, that's funny you should say that, because one of the things I walked away from the movie thinking was, at very few times during the movie did you ever see them studying.
Right, when do you have time to do that?
And if I remember correctly...
Well, he was a genius.
Well, cinematically,
right, exactly.
how interesting is studying.
Well, I know, that's...
here he is learning the enzymes.
Mm-hmm.
So you did this after medical school, and has it shut down since, or is it still going?
Right. Where are we with the Gesundheit Institute?
We're a 28-year-old project. We're extremely radical.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we set out to do. I set out 31 years ago to create a model that would address every single problem of care delivery. And so for 12 years, we ran a pilot in a house a little bit nicer than the one you see in and a series of houses nicer than the one you see in the movie. It's not nicer than the one where we're building our hospital now. And we set out and created a hospital practice that never charged money, never carried malpractice insurance, never accepted third-party reimbursement, always integrated all the healing arts, was the first silly hospital in history where initial interviews with patients were 3 or 4 hours long. Those are radical concepts, and radical concepts don't get funded very easily. You can imagine trying to get funding for a hospital that doesn't carry malpractice insurance. Our first donation came 14 years into the project. And now, as we soon to enter our 29th year, and, I'm happy to say, but a little embarrassed for a society crying out for solutions to healthcare delivery issues, that with this movie, it looks like we're going to move to where we're building our 40-bed rural hospital based on those principles.
Now, Patch, who do you go to when you have a sore throat? Who's your doctor?
Well, I really haven't been sick in decades.
He's Patch Adams. He doesn't get sick.
You don't get...
Well, it's not a matter of not getting sick. If I don't get sore throats, I may occasionally get a little snot, but I wouldn't go to a doctor for snot. I have a huge number of medical friends, thousands of them, and they all look after me and care about me, which is preventive medicine. So I have a huge number of people in the health profession that love me and look after me, and I'm sure if I got sick, I'd go to which of them I thought would address the situation the best.
How many patients do you personally see?
I don't see any patients. It's much more important for me now. We ran our pilot project for 12 years and saw 15,000. The last 16 years, we've been focused on fundraising to building a model hospital, because nowhere in America are we really addressing this horrible, greedy, and impersonal context that we have.
Let me ask you again about that because you're obviously very harsh on the conventional medical industry as being greedy and kind of money grubbing.
Let me give you an idea.
Okay.
The CEO of the Hospital Corporation of America in 1992, what do you think his take-home pay was?
I would say
$2 million.
Yeah, I don't know.
How much over 50 million?
50?
How much over 100 million?
Okay. All right.
$127 million. So do you think I have any possible right to condemn that?
Well, in that case, I would say you probably have every right in the world. I think maybe what the question would be is, it seems like there's kind of an attitude that any doctor who does well for himself and makes money must just be greedy and not necessarily a good doctor. And would you agree that...
I don't think that's what I'm saying at all.
Okay, then I just want to set the record straight because...
We live in a world society where the richest 360 people have the same amount of money as the poorest 2.4 billion.
Right.
We live in a society where, because of the value our society places on fame, a ball bouncer can make $100 million and a school teacher makes $25,000. That's a war crime to me.
Well, a lot of those doctors who make that kind of money because they worked very hard in their life and they went to school and became very educated.
That's not why they make a lot of money. A ditch digger works really hard. They make a lot of money because of where our society puts value.
Now, Pat, to be a ball bouncer, you've got to tie both shoes tightly. You've got to be able to run up and down wood. That's worth $100 million, isn't it? That's sickening.
Well, all right.
All I'm saying is that right now in our society, if we look at it medically, money and power are where we put success and value.
That's true.
No one that has any touch with patients knows that money and power give health. In fact, a society that has placed its values in money and power is crumbling. And so it actually is probably greed and the lust for power are probably the two worst diseases. They dwarf. The consequences of them dwarf the consequences of AIDS and cancer and heart disease. And medicine is just, it's no different than the movie theater, where the Coke costs $3 when in actual fact it costs 10 cents to make. Mm-hmm. Why not 20 cents with 100% markup?
Now, right now, you make most of your income in speaking engagements. Is that right? I mean, that's where the majority of your income comes in.
I am salaried by Gesundheit. Everything I make goes to Gesundheit directly.
Okay, but your primary source of income is speaking engagements, is I believe what I've read, because that's...
Well, what I'm saying is I'm an employee of Gesundheit.
Right, and they get paid for the speeches, and he gets paid through them.
I see.
Patch, one last thing. It'll take 15 seconds of your time, and then you're off. We need for you to name as many fish as you can in 15 seconds.
This is our fish quiz. It's a speed game, and in 15 seconds, just rattle off as many fish that come to mind.
When do I start?
Anything underwater.
Ready? On your mark, get set, go.
Mackerel, trout, pike, salmon, tuna, sardines, I don't know, bream, crappie.
You got seven.
Seven.
It's not a bad showing. The record was 15.
Yeah. 15.
Thank you very much.
Hold on a second.
Hold on one second.
Patch Adams.
It's the real Patch Adams on the Morning X.
The best of the Morning X.
99X.